Now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter. I'd like to thank Chandra Sharma for joining us today. Chandra is the founder and co-president of BizXL, a boutique management consulting firm that works with business professionals and companies to improve business performance and enterprise risk management. Chandra has been an operations and strategic leadership executive with more than 25 years of international experience in business transformation, change management, and building a corporate continuous improvement in Fortune 500 companies across multiple industries. Chandra has his MBA from Cornell University and Queen's University, Lean Office Program certification from the University of Michigan, and has GE Company certification as a Six Sigma Black Belt and Six Sigma trainer. He's also a faculty member for our Rutgers Mini-MBA, Driving Innovative Business Solutions. I've had the pleasure of working with Chandra since he began with RBS Executive Education, and I know you will enjoy learning from him as much as I have. Chandra, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And it gives me immense pleasure to welcome everyone to this very pertinent topic for today, rapid innovation. We see a lot of change happening all around us, and let's start, why it is important, why it is so relevant. So all these organizations, Blockbuster, BlackBerry, Sears, JCPenney, Kodak, and Borders, they were companies who were doing extremely well, very successful in their own sphere of influence. And today they cease to exist. And when you are at that point of strength and you cease to exist, there is something which is definitely missing. And that's the theme of today. There are many products which are being, what's common among these products? The first one is Google Glass, which was launched a long time back. There was a lot of hype around that. The second one is Facebook launched a phone. The third one is a low-fat fries, which was launched by Burger King's. And the last one is a BlackBerry. So all these products did not meet the end objective of creating value. And that's why we don't see them around anymore. So whether it is an organization or whether it is a product that we focus on, if we don't see it anymore, then there is something which is missing. And that's what we are going to cover today. Before we get into further, we all have ideas which can make a difference, ideas that can create value, ideas that can create some products or services and innovate. So those ideas, what percentage of those ideas for groundbreaking new products and services are marketplace flops or just never see the light of day? So the answer is 70 to 90%. So that is why innovation is so hard. And when organizations, and it's not that innovation is not happening, we see innovation happening all around us. There's so many new organizations which come up with new products, new value propositions, and they start creating impact in the marketplace. Their presence felt. So this is 70 to 90% of those new ideas do not survive. Sometimes ideas are great, but it's the timing which is not right. It is the market fit or product fit which is not right. There are many reasons why the ideas might not fail, might not succeed. If we move forward, which of these would you say is the most innovative company? So there should be a poll question here for you. So where you can answer, which of these 5 organizations do you think is the most innovative company?
So I hope everybody's seeing that poll up on their screen. It looks like actually, yeah, I'm seeing some. And I apologize that we made a last minute change of order and my edit to calling that poll number 2 didn't come through. So I'm going to end the poll here and share out the results for everyone to see.
Great. So I think this is very interesting. So all these 5 companies are some of the most innovative companies that we know of today. The poll results shows that Amazon has been ranked as number 1 with 38% of the participants saying that Amazon is number one, the most innovative company. The next in polls is Apple, which is 24%. The third one is Google, which is 19%, Tesla 14%, and Microsoft 5%. So if we look at the value created by all these organizations today, the one which out of these five, which has been ranked as the lowest in terms of innovation by the participants here, is actually having the largest market capitalization. It is it is over, it is the largest. The next in line would be Apple in terms of market capitalization, which is the value it has created in the market. But I think the reason why everybody thinks of Amazon, because we are all able to see the difference that Amazon is making to our buying habits. If we need something, the reliability and the speed and the quality of execution that Amazon is able to provide to touch us every day, almost every day, is phenomenal. So thank you for your feedback here, your results. So all these organizations have created some value, and I see that each of these five options have been rated by you. In subsequent slides, we are going to see how these different organizations are creating value. If I were to continue this, why is driving innovative business solutions critical for all organizations? So we have two options here. Again, this is a poll question. What do you think? Is it value creation or is it resiliency?
This is like watching a horse race. It's coming in even. Photo finish. Give people one more second. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to end that and share out the results for you.
Okay, thank you for your responses again. So value creation is ahead of resiliency. So when we talk about value creation, it is the starting point. Why any organization is there, it is because of value creation. But we saw some of these organizations like Kodak, the Xeroxes, the Blockbusters, BlackBerry. So they don't exist anymore because they did not focus on resiliency. So value creation is absolutely the number one thing. Resiliency is also equally important, if not more. So when organizations stop to focus on resiliency, they are doing well today. They get complacent, and that's where the downfall spiral starts for them. And that's something which we have to keep in mind. But thank you again for your responses here. Much appreciated. Okay, so we continue to move forward. So when we talk about innovation, and the reason for innovation is because we are in a rapidly transforming landscape. If we look at the Fortune 10, the top 10 companies in 2011, they were very different looking organizations than what we have today in 2021. So Walmart, ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Fannie Mae, General Electric, Berkshire Hathaway, General Motors, Bank of America, and Ford Motor. So these are some of the organizations which were there in 2011. If you see here, the focus was of different sector of organizations. In 2021, if we see, we have a very different set of organizations. So Walmart continues to be there. And we see that many organizations have changed. Now, if you see the difference between these two organizations, the shift is, in 2011, energy was a key focus area. So oil and energy was a primary focus area there, transportation and financials. 60% of the organizations which were there in the top 10 in Fortune 100 organizations were in these three sector areas. In 2021, where we are today, things have changed. 60% is technology and healthcare. So the verticals which were there, which were forefront of creating value in 2011, are not the same verticals in 2021 which are creating that kind of value. Now here the question comes, These organizations were doing great. They have been doing great. Now, why have they lost the market share, or why are they not doing that well financially? And those are the questions, answers to those questions are what we're going to talk about. Why are we changing? Why is there essentially the requirement for the organizations to change? So this is a very interesting picture. Why do we need to innovate when our organization is doing well? And that's $1 million question, right? So many organizations, when something is working, why do we need to innovate ourselves? Why do we need to change ourselves? And that's the question that we will answer today. So we are in a very dynamic world, and a lot of things around us are changing. And recently, so internet in around 2000, early 2000s, internet started a lot of change. And one of the organization, Amazon, which you have identified as number one, was one of the very few organizations of the internet time which survived and has scaled up and created a lot of value today is Amazon. If you saw Facebook change their name to Meta, and they announced a large opportunity called in the metaverse space, where how we live, how we work, how we play, how we do business, everything is going to change. And it is being positioned as the internet of today. So what internet was 2 decades back, metaverse is at this point starting today. So that is a big change happening, and this is going to unfold a lot of opportunities for many new startups, many new organizations. Many existing organizations can play a different role in creating value for themselves and for others due in this new metaverse space. Cloud computing has really changed, transformed. Many organizations during COVID were able to work seamlessly from have employees work remotely because they had cloud-based solutions, which were easy to log onto and access. That created a lot of opportunity for many organizations. If you know your Amazon AWS, which Amazon Web Services is Amazon's one of the fastest growing capabilities, where they provide cloud services. Microsoft, another organization which is doing very well with its Azure product in cloud. That again is a big, large capability. Data is a huge opportunity. We are creating so much of data every day. The pictures that we are taking, the chats that we are having, the emails that we are sending and receiving, there is a flood of data which is getting created. It's called tsunami of data. And organizations which are going to be able to navigate and harness the power of data using artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to take a leap here, a lead in this whole process. Demographics, we see that demographics are changing around us. So what is changing? The aging people are growing. The number of people, we are going to have more population of across different diversity demographics as well. And organizations to grow, to be relevant, to be over a longer period of time, need to understand the demographics. Some of the organizations, and we saw that healthcare sector is growing. Now this is predominantly two factors. One, of course, is the demographics. In Northern America, US and Canada, the senior population is going to grow, is growing very rapidly. And that is going to create more focus on healthcare needs, which are available for people. So that's a demographic aspect. And some organizations are also creating different products and services to cater to those demographics. If you also look at mobile, so we can do now technically anything and everything on the go. We don't have to be at one place, and that is creating a lot of opportunities for organizations. Social, so whether it is Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and the list can go on. There are so many organizations which have been created with the social focus, and they are creating a lot of value. And we all, whether it is a professional network, where we use LinkedIn, or personal level, where we use WhatsApp or Snapchat or so many other platforms. They are there. And the global operating model, COVID-19 actually made us understand that work is not where for doing work, we don't have to be at one particular place all the time. Work can be done technically from anywhere. And organizations have realized that, they understand that, they have put systems and structures in place to leverage that. And technically now it's a global operating model. So whatever capability one needs, you can tap into from anywhere globally. So these are the drivers. And because of all these drivers, the customer preferences are changing. Now, customers are the ones who help when they buy a product or service, which leads us to actually organizational being relevant, creating value, and sustainable. So customer preferences are changing because of all these things which are changing together, and that is what creates an opportunity. Now, here we're going to talk about the three different dimensions of value creation. Every organization, is focused on one of these three as a primary driver, and the other two are the supporting drivers. So what that means is every organization needs to be exceptionally good in one of these drivers, and then meet at least a threshold level of performance on the other two drivers. Now, what are these three drivers? The three drivers are, the first one is product leadership. So which is, you create a product which is world class, which is so good that everybody aspires to get that product, and that is your clearly the product focus. The second one is customer intimacy. So customer intimacy is where you create very customized service or offering for the customer. You understand the needs of the customer so well that your offering is very, very customized to the customer. And then the third one is operational excellence, wherein you are actually delivering something so well. You have a well-oiled machinery, excuse me, wherein you are able to deliver things when you tell people to do. It is going to be delivered on time, at the price point, efficiently, all the year round, and that is operational excellence. So for product leadership, for operational excellence, an organization like Walmart, they are providing so many products and services to people across, and that is operational excellence. For customer intimacy, there are organizations like, let's say, TD Ameritrade or any investment banking, where they provide customized solutions for the businesses or individuals where they need any help. On product leadership standpoint, there are organizations like Apple, Tesla, recently Lucid, who create products which are so stellar in nature that everybody is looking at those products and services. And that is the dimension. So what this means is, when an organization is looking at these three dimensions, it is a threshold level. So all three pillars, to be relevant and sustainable, you ought to be delivering at least at that threshold level. And that is the bare minimum expectation. Now, to expand your sphere of influence, you need to achieve a leadership value. You need to take it to the next level. And this is where we will again look at the 5 companies we looked at in the initial phase, and see. And this is the poll here. So you will answer each of these companies. You will answer whether they are demonstrating product leadership, customer intimacy, or operational excellence, right? So for Apple, your answer would be, which of these 3 are they demonstrating? So you'll pick one. Which is the leadership attribute for each of these organizations? So let's start the poll question here. You'll be able to see the poll question there. So for Apple, what it is? Is it customer intimacy? Do they understand the customers, exactly what the customers need? Or are they demonstrating product leadership? They have created products which are so good and so stellar. Similarly for Tesla and Amazon and Microsoft and Google. let us see how this pans out.
So everybody should be seeing a poll in the center of their screen. It actually has 5 questions to it because we're asking the same um, elements of each of these 5 companies. I think everybody's kind of got the idea of it, and they're finding the scroll to get to, the second and third and fourth and fifth parts of the question so that, we can get an answer for each of them. If anybody else wants to participate, I'll give you a few more seconds before we end the poll and begin to share the results. Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you for your response again. So here we see the results. Are you able to see the screen? You should be able to see the screen, the results on my screen here. For Apple, most of the people have said they're demonstrating clearly the product leadership. So let's say what that means is, sorry. Margaret, are you able to get the survey results back?
Yes, can the Apple
Okay. Yeah,
response was product leadership.
I got it on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, you see it now? Okay.
Yeah, I see it now. Thank you. Yeah. So Apple is number one for product. Everybody is saying product for Apple, which means that the products that Apple is making, whether it's iPhone or with iPad or iTunes or iMusic or iHome, all these Apple products are exceptional. Product leadership is definitely, and recently they launched their own chips in the new Macs, and which is creating the cutting edge, the fastest response there. So which is great. So yeah, so first one is Apple and product leadership. Tesla, again, product leadership. So if Apple and Tesla, most of you agree that they have demonstrated leadership. Tesla, again, product leadership, because they created something which did not exist. Apple, they created something which did not exist. And that is why, and there are responses in customer intimacy and operational excellence for both these companies. So which means that people think that they understand the customer pulse very well, and also able to deliver very operational excellence there when they're delivering those services. It's excellent. The third one is Amazon. So Amazon, we think is operational excellence, and that's phenomenal. Yes, so I think I couldn't agree more. So you guys really knocked it very well. So operational excellence is the ability to execute what you commit, what you to the customer, and every time keep challenging your own delivery SLA, service level agreements. So if they say they started with saying you're going to deliver this product to you, to your home within a week. Now they deliver within hours, right? So the speed of execution and the predictability is phenomenal. So that's wonderful. Microsoft, we are saying again, product leadership. So it looks like people are thinking about Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, maybe thinking about Azure, their product, which is great. Customer intimacy and operational excellence also are getting some rating there. The last one is Google, and Google is customer intimacy, and I think again, this is probably correct, because Google is one of the organizations which understands us, what we do, where we are, what are our habits, way better than many of the other organizations do. So they have the amount of data that they have, and the computing power that they have to understand exactly what different people need is phenomenal. And because of that customer intimacy, the Google search business, which is free for the consumer. So if I need to search something, it is free for me. But people who are advertising, who want their products and services to be brought in front of me, are willing to pay for this capability. and that is generating a lot of profits for Google. And they continue to retain that number one position since a long time. Very good. Thank you very much for that. Now, in product leadership, what is important is it is not a destination. So in Apple, if they would have just launched the iPhone and they would have not expanded their product portfolio, and if they don't keep coming out with newer versions of the phone with better features and functionalities, they will not retain their product leadership position. And that is what is extremely important for our organizations to be able to retain that. Keep reinventing, keep innovating, to attain, to not just attain, but continue to retain that leadership position. The next one is customer intimacy. And this is where organizations like Google and a lot of data is being coming in play. So even organizations like Netflix, now if we watch Netflix, they know what is our preference. They are able to, their algorithm starts to keep learning based on artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, and we are able to see continuously what is going to be aligned with us, and that is what they start showing us as options. So that's another great example. Operational excellence, organizations like Amazon, Walmart, FedEx, these are leaders in operational excellence. They demonstrate continuously capability, which is, they can manage very large volumes, large scale of with whatever product or service they're providing at world-class performance levels, and at a cost which is also is able to see economies of scale. So that's the dimensions of value creation. So in your organization, you can think about, which is the product, which is your leadership value, and what are your threshold values on the other two. And if one of these, customer intimacy, let's say, or operational excellence, you might be stellar in product leadership, but if your operational excellence is really low, it will start impacting your customer experience. Now, if the customer experience starts getting impacted, the the value creation will start decreasing. So that's how these levers are kind of connected. The threshold level of performance has to be there for all three, and one has to be pushed further as a strategic direction towards the leadership position, leadership value, to create the leadership value. So after COVID-19, the organizations which have been doing well in leadership are the organizations which have grown by over 17 percentage points when they came out of COVID-19. And they were able to, so when COVID-19 happened, every organization had an impact, because nobody had anticipated it. Was for the first time, it was a pandemic. But when we are coming out of that, you see there is a difference here, and there's a 17 percentage points, which is a very large percentage difference between organizations which are the top innovative organizations and others brought together. And that is why it makes absolute sense for us to be innovative and continuing in this direction. So why we all understand innovation is important, but why organizations like BlackBerry and Kodak and Xerox, which were leaders in their time, unable to sustain themselves? So there are some roadblocks for innovation. First one is slow decision making. If what is happening in our environment, and if the organization is not able to respond to that change quickly, and then that can hinder the innovation. Conflicting departmental goals and priorities. Now, innovation is complex, and to get something which is different, you need to have collaboration across multiple multidisciplinary functionalities, capabilities, and that is where many organizations actually lack. Conflicting department goals and priorities. If the business operations and technology are focusing on two different areas, then they cannot create value for the organization. So it is very important for the C-suite, the leadership of organizations, to focus on getting these goals and priorities aligned. This covers cultures. So when we are talking about innovation, and we saw that 70 to 90% of ideas fail It is very important to have a culture where experimentation and trying new things is actually promoted and encouraged. And that is where, if we only reward success, then people will be less open to trying out new things. And that is where the organizations will start to, go down on that path. And the last one is silo-based information. Now, for innovation, the holistic understanding of the problem, what from the lens of the customer, other stakeholders in the ecosystem is extremely important. As we start to develop a holistic understanding of the customers and the different stakeholders, the regulation requirements, then we start to formulate and the technology capabilities. Now, there's so much happening on the technology side as well. Then we start to get a whole picture. Now, if this is not flowing, the information is not connected, then the organization starts to struggle, even with the best resources, doing financially very well. It starts getting difficult for them to sustain or continue to innovate. Now, the question is, where do we start the innovation focus? Now, if we know we will have to, innovate. The first step is, what is the purpose and strategy of the organization? The purpose-driven organizations are able to do much better innovation because they have a compass which is guiding the whole organization towards a common objective, and that purpose-led strategy, which is very helpful. Now, when you have the strategy, you have to look at two things. One is the tactics, which is how you are going to achieve this strategy. And then the second part is the operating model. Now, sometimes what happens is that because the environment in which we are is changing, the tactics which are working are not relevant anymore. So now these tactics are not working. So you need to just innovate to find new tactics to achieve the strategy. But sometimes you are in a state where the operating model, how your organization is structured to create and deliver value is not relevant. So now, if you think about, banking has totally got transformed. So earlier we used to go to a bank to pay bills, to do basic transactions. Now we don't go to a bank branch, a physical brick and mortar branch to do those transactions. So operating model of banks is changing. So more convenience, more capability is available on the go, on the mobile. And similarly, for many other organizations, the operating models, to be relevant and sustainable, they have to not just change the tactics, but change the whole fundamental operating model. And that is where they have to think about where they want to change and where the innovation focus needs to be. And it also could be, tactics could be for the shorter term, and operating model could be a little longer term, but that is where the calibration happens. So horizons of innovation. So when we are in the current state, we are doing something, the business is going well. So we have to continue to execute what is going well. That is extremely, extremely important. At the same time, we can extend the life of our core by innovation on processes and the business model. So if we restructure ourselves and redefine our capabilities, create a new operating model and change the processes, business processes, we can extend the core. And that is how, now if you going back to the example of Amazon started with a process wherein they were delivering things in a week. Today they deliver things in hours of ordering. So that is a fundamental change in the business process. So how they were organizing themselves, and also maybe around the model, so how they were organizing themselves to create and deliver that value is fundamentally being changed. But if you want to be relevant over a longer period of time, to explore what is not known, this new and disruptive part, this is what creates a differentiating, sustainable competitive advantage. And that is where organizations need to be focused on. They need to understand what is happening around the world. What is happening in terms of new technology developments, what is happening in terms of the customer demographic changes, the wheels of change that we covered in that initial slide. So all those wheels of change are what lead to new disruptive innovation. And this is the time horizon. The horizontal axis shows the time horizon. So execute, extend, and explore. So that's how you look at. So continue to focus on your core, execute well on that, extend the core by innovating the process and the business model. But if you want to create new value, you have to do new disruptive things. So if we take example of Apple, so the first iPhone which came was disruptive in nature. Then they came out with a new product which is iPad, right? And then Mac. So those are all new and disruptive capabilities coming for newer product cycles. So that's the core, how you can extend. So these are some of the attributes which are there, which organizations at times miss. The last one is also very important. We have touched on the others. So not sufficient effort to expand knowledge and competencies. So if the organizations are not developing new capabilities, new skills, and not introducing the teams to newer knowledge of what is happening around the world and how to innovate. Now today, data is exploding. Now artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotic process automation, these are newer capabilities which organizations have to embrace to be relevant. We are finding new challenges, and that's where the knowledge of data science, data scientists, how to manage this data is getting very important for organizations to acquire. And the challenge is they have functional capability. The people in finance function, people in sales, marketing, now they need data scientists in all these areas as well. So what many organizations have started to do is they started to get their current people who are already domain experts trained on this additional knowledge and capability, providing them opportunities on this additional knowledge and capability so that they can continue to expand and grow and overall help the organization be relevant and sustainable. So when we talk about effective problem solving, there are three critical lenses. The first one is user desirability. So if you're creating a product or service, there has to be a customer or a user, and we have to keep that lens of the user in perspective. That user lens, the user has to have a desire for the product. Now, Apple has aspirational value. When we talk about our iPhone, new iPhone gets launched, people still stand in queues, to get their new iPhone. Why? Because there is a desirability which Apple has as a brand has been able to create. Similarly for Tesla, yesterday I was watching that Lucid, the new car, which was awarded the best car of the year by Motor Trends. So these are aspirational products where they have focus on the user and have been able to create a desirability. Second part, when you're starting the thing, the technical feasibility is important. So if you understand that customers need something and there is a technical feasibility, then you look at the business viability. When these three things come together, that's where the innovation becomes mature to be able to create value. And this is the innovation, we call it innovation sweet spot. So how do we go about effective problem solving? It starts with identifying the right problem. Many times we think of some solution and we say, okay, let's implement this solution. Let's develop this product. We have to take a step backwards and first try to define the right problem, the complete problem. Once we have defined the problem, we understand the ecosystem. Who are the players in this ecosystem, and how do we go about doing that? Forming the right team. This is a cross-functional capability, which is important. And then identifying the right solution and prioritizing it. And then the last part is also very important, which is delivering with effective change management. Many times what we have is we have a great product, but it fails because there is no focus on market adoption. So if we work on that as well, then there is a lot of value in end-to-end problem solving, innovation, and taking idea to value realization end-to-end. So at Rutgers, we have a program called Driving Innovative Business Solutions. And for innovation, this is the framework that we use, which is the first one is discover, where we're trying to define the problem. Then we diagnose, and there are different tools and frameworks which are there as part of each of these Ds. where you discover, you diagnose, you design, you develop, and then you deliver. And there could be a back and forth. When you're discovering, you're trying to define the problem, you move forward, then you realize you need some additional information, you come backwards, and it is a iterative process. You need to, when you're going through this process, you need to validate with the customers or the user that, yeah, it is creating value. So idea to value creation, when we talk about, there are two distinct parts of it. One is the problem identification. The more time we spend in defining the problem clearly, understanding what the customer needs, and then quickly prototyping and creating some kind of a minimum viable product, and get feedback from the customer, that's where we can accelerate. We can introduce speed. We can make this whole process very rapid. So when it seems very cumbersome and complicated, it can be very, very fast and accelerated from idea to value creation. So here, problem definition is, there are elements of design thinking, which is customer empathy, looking from the lens of the customer or the user. That is very important. When we're looking at designing, lean thinking aspect is extremely important, which is rapid prototyping. And then we are looking at agile development and solution execution, whereas develop and deliver. So the solution development, validation, and then if it is what is right, incorporating the feedback, and then executing on that. So that is the end-to-end idea to value creation. So if we look at quickly, what are the elements? The first one is alignment, clarity of innovative objectives. So across the organization, the strategy, the purpose has to be clearly defined for rapid innovation to take place. Then the culture part is extremely important. Collaboration across multidisciplinary collaboration is very important. So if we are able to, the leadership of organizations is able to create that kind of multidisciplinary collaborative teams which can work together, then innovation becomes much easier to do it. Velocity. So to create velocity, sometimes the teams get bogged down into just creating the whole product, but not getting the feedback from the user and the customer. And that validation, the sooner we can go to the customer and get the feedback, and the user then get the feedback and incorporate that feedback into the product and go through those iterative cycles, the faster we can move forward to the product or the service which actually is going to create material value for the organizations and the people who are working involved with this. And finally, it's results. So our organizations are designed where results are, achieving results is rewarded. So it is also important to not just individual performance, but having incentive plan where we are rewarding the collaborative behavior, collaborative support, and also experimentation and trying out new things. That is very important, also for achieving these results. So quickly to recap what we have gone through, clarity of innovative objectives is extremely important. Establishing guidelines for risk-taking and a culture to accept failure. Organization capabilities, training, development, getting the new skills, whether it is artificial intelligence, knowledge about how innovation can be managed within organizations, knowledge about how newer capabilities are there in the marketplace, data science, machine learning, metaverse, which is a new area of competence. So how these things are going to shape. So organizations need to invest in their employees, their teams, to build those additional capabilities. Focus on customer and user, that's very important. So customer intimacy at least at a threshold level has to be there, so that you understand if the customer's needs are changing, or customer wants the product or service delivered in a different manner, a different channel is of preference. And that is of that understanding, that knowledge, the pulse of the customer is extremely important. Multidisciplinary lens, enabling cross-functional collaboration, and that's where the business operations, the marketing, the product team, and the technology team all have to look at things together, in the cross. And that is where, when they start looking at things together, that's where the magic starts to happen. When the best products and services start getting created, and that's where the value gets generated. Yeah, so incentive program to reward collaboration, because right now we reward individual behavior, and that's where people will continue to work in silos. So organizations need to think about how they can change the focus and move to reward collaboration. With this, we are come to the end of the webinar. We are open for any questions.
Thank you, Chandra. What very informative, exciting model that you shared, and I think really got people thinking for sure. So we do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Sure.
And the first was from someone who said that they have trouble generating creative ideas to invent something, and are asking if you have any suggestions.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Many organizations have idea programs, some sort of idea programs in-house, wherein every employee is able to participate. I do not know what kind of program or what do you have at that kind of a platform available to your employees to share their ideas. But what you could potentially do is, if you have, leverage that, but if you don't have, then identify some focused themes, where there is you see which is aligned with your organizational purpose and strategy. And what can really help is create those cross-functional teams. And those cross-functional teams can have a small mini workshop come together, which includes technology, which includes business operations, marketing, sales, people who understand the customer better, people who understand the solution better, people who understand technology capabilities better, and they come together and they are given some kind of a broad guidelines to ideate. In terms of and ideate, when you're ideating, they need to think about not what they can create or solve, but what is the problem that they have identified for the consumer, the customer or the user of your products and services. And when all different people are able to define some problems at the end of that exercise workshop, you can come out with some very clearly defined problems. And if you are able to start with problems, that is a great start. And you can then, have, if you, let's say you are at the end of this workshop, you identify 2, 3, 4 good problems, meaningful problems, then you can have the team have voting on those problems, which of these problems they think is has a higher impact, can have a higher impact on the customer experience, can have a higher impact on value creation, profitability of the organization. And you can define those parameters there, and then that will going to help you prioritize the ideas that have generated. And then based on the ideas prioritization, then you can have this cross-functional team take that idea to the value creation route. So that is how I would suggest to move forward. But if there is any further question, I'll be happy to, you can reach out to me offline, and then I can provide some more guidance on that.
And that's great, Chandra. And it reminds me of a quote that I know that has been attributed to Henry Ford about innovation, where he said that if he only gave people what they asked for, we'd have faster horses, not cars. Right. So looking at what the challenge is and not going straight to updating existing, I think is very, very important, still a very relevant concept today. So we have a couple more questions, so I'm going to go to the next one.
Sure.
And I'm going to read this one verbatim.
Sure.
As the majority of organizations today would agree, they need to innovate. The challenge then becomes how to best prioritize the ideas that should be focused on for innovation. How would you suggest that organizations best determine these priorities?
Again, a great question, Margaret. Thank you for that question. And this is a common challenge. We are in a world where we have finite resources, and we have to align our resources, whether it's people, and financial resources, all to the common goals, common purposes, finite resources, right? So now if you are looking at, you have some ideas, a lot of ideas are floating around. What is important is, you have to look at your strategic priorities first. What the organizational purpose, then the strategic priorities, and align with the strategic priorities. Which of these priorities is the first focus where you would like to take significant improvement? Now, if you look at the leadership quadrant, the three parameters, leadership parameters which are there. If you are having product leadership, you are having a leadership position there, then maybe, and you are lacking a little bit on the other two dimensions, then that gives you a framework to start with, where to focus. So now if operational excellence is where you are having challenges in delivering a value to the customer, you are able to create a value, you have a product which is well respected. Now that is the dimension of operational excellence. How do you create that value effectively and efficiently and deliver that value to the customer? And that could be the first starting point of your focus. Now, if your operational excellence is great, you don't understand the customers that well, then that is the area where you want to create some value there, so that you are able to create a continuum where you get the feedback and continue to innovate on the product's leadership position. So that framework could be a good starting point, aligned with your organizational strategy and purpose, to get started with the ideas, funnel down.
That's yeah, great use of the framework. I like when it circles back to that, because I think that's a very valuable part of your presentation that you shared. We have someone who's asking you to address the use of personas and how they include all customers when kind of working through ideas.
Yeah, so customer personas are important to understand the market segmentation. So if you are creating a product and you, let's say the same car that let's say Tesla is creating, a Model X. Now, if they are targeting C-suite executives who are senior, who are in different age, the way they're going to understand the persona of that particular segment will be very different than if they're targeting somebody who are young entrepreneurs, who are affluent, who have got some financial capability, and they like to drive technology in cars. So each tech persona is different. Now, when you are starting to innovate, understanding the persona to whom you want to target is also very powerful, because as you understand the persona, your idea can get more targeted to a very specific problem. So the product or could be the same product, but when you're defining the problem, the specific persona is going to be very helpful. Hope that helps.
Great. Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button for a second there. That's great. Thank you. We now have someone who has asked about, much innovation is focused on, tangible products, but they're asking how all of this can be applied when your product is a service.
Great question. So nowadays the walls between product and service are getting diffused as well. So when you say service is an experience, and now just the product is not just a product; it is also an experience. Now, if you want to buy an Apple product, again, you're talking about the experience. How your customer identifies your product, hears about it, identifies it, and then goes through the whole cycle. So for service also, it is the same thing. If you're looking at innovating your service, you will start with understanding your target audience, defining the problems that they're facing, and then you map the whole journey of the customer in the current state. If you have to innovate, you have to understand. It is very helpful to understand the current state of the journey of your customer and identify which are those touch points where the customer is touching your product, your organization, and what is transacting, what information are they transacting at that point, and how can you make that each of these transaction points seamless for them. And nowadays for service organizations, what is important is how can you have omni channel experience, wherein whether somebody's on a mobile or on desktop or in a physical location, they are able to have the service seamlessly ordered and managed, right? And they can, I don't know what exactly your service is, but this is how you would go about understanding the specific friction points which are there in the current journey of your customers, the service that you want to innovate, and then come out with a zero-based thinking. It's a design thinking concept where you are not constrained with what is currently available. You spend time in understanding the current state, but then you do the zero-based thinking, wherein you say, okay, now if this is the value to be delivered to the customers through this service, how can this be done very differently in a much better manner, delivering the best experience, having the lowest cost, and that is with no constraints. And that is how you start thinking of innovation in a service environment as well.
So it was not me who submitted this question, but it happened to have been, when you said you weren't sure what the service was, it happened to be education.
Okay, great. Yeah, yeah.
So perfect.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, great questions from our audience. Great participation overall from the audience, because we had a number of poll questions, and I thought it was very fun to see how everyone responded. But I'd also like to thank you, Chander, for a great presentation. Fantastic, highly interactive. And for anybody in our audience who'd like to learn more from Chander, he's a faculty member in our Mini-MBA Driving Innovative Business Solutions program, available in online and virtual live open enrollment formats, as well as custom training solutions for organizations. And there's more information about all of those options on the executive education portion of our website. I just want to leave everyone with a friendly reminder that the RBS Virtual Lunch and Learn series takes place on Wednesdays at noon Eastern, specifically the third Wednesdays of each month. And there's more information, and this is mostly, you'll receive it if you've registered, you'll receive this via email, but mostly for the audience who's listening to this as a recording, you can find more information at business.rutgers.edu/alumni/lifelong-learning. And back to our live audience, we have an exciting schedule of topics and presenters lined up thanks to suggestions from our audience. So we encourage you to keep sharing those ideas. We want the series to continue to meet your needs. So please stay online briefly for a very quick 3-question survey about today's event. And one of those questions is actually a free form field that you can type in topics and/or speakers you'd like to see featured in our future webinars. And finally, as I mentioned when our webinar began earlier, a link to the archived recording of this presentation will be shared via social media and emailed. It will be also found on the Business Insights page of our website. Thank you, Chander. Thank you for a great audience. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the
Bye-bye.
day. Bye-bye.